Hey. Man, good to see you. This is streaming. Yeah, this is streaming. Right? A friend of mine has I think I sent him the right. Obviously, there's decisions are going to be made soon. Oh, never mind. I found it.
Excuse me, Nicholas? Nicholas, can you?
Yeah, get out of your way. What it is, it's tiered package. And because so much, like I have a state police, I have so many guys. Some there, great key. It's like, again, something a year with that great package. There's 23 there. These guys, so we need 30. So I'm going for the top tier just to get it in balance and figure it out there. So yeah, good. I just not take a step back. I can't know myself, so I want to get a right check. It's good. Yeah, so they're talking. One more water, just
Yeah, spot next to
Yes.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out to the great Chesapeake Commonwealth Attorney Debate. My name is Conrad SchezzWho. I run a small fledgling YouTube channel called SchezzWho, which focuses on politics. And a little over 2 weeks ago, I just thought of the idea, maybe I could reach out to each one of these candidates and then maybe bring them on the show, perhaps even have a debate. And what did you know? They were both very interested in having an actual debate. And just 2 weeks, look what we're able to get here at this fine facility, Gala signature events. I'm amazed at what we're able to put through in such a short amount of time. I would like to really thank them. In fact, I'm going to thank a couple of individuals right now, starting with, of course, my wife, most important person for me, most time. Shout out to my wife. Also want to thank my parents who were starting on this journey, about 38 years ago. And my dad's in, shout out to Mr. Charlie SchezzWho. And that. Of course, I also want to thank Mr. Farley Perkins. He's the one who found this event. He created what you see here tonight. So I really want to thank Mr. Farley Perkins at the Farley Perkins Agency right here in Chesapeake. He can help you all with a lot of things. Thank you. Now, I also want to thank Mr. Marcus Calabrese, who gave me a lot of great ideas over the past couple of weeks and over the great years that I've been studying and doing politics. So I want to thank him. I don't see me just yet, but go ahead and clap for him. Of course, those candidates, the local party leaders, I want to thank them too, because it was their influences to really put this all out here tonight. So of course, let us thank candidates and their local leaders themselves all right now. Now, for all City of Chesapeake public officials in attendance that I have not named, please stand so you may be recognized. I want to start off with the ground rules for tonight. Now, debate, disagreement, they're going to be encouraged, but not rudeness. Our participants are encouraged to have fun with this, but not the hostile or dominant speaking type that you see at some other forums or debates. Both candidates will have a 4-minute opener. Both candidates will have a 3-minute closing statement. Questions will be answered with 2-minute responses as the goal, but I don't want to be too aggressive on time. But just so you make sure, we will have someone who is flashing the green pan, which means 30 seconds, and the red one, which means you may not stop. Of course, I'll allow for additional rebuttals within reason. And regarding you, the audience, I teach classroom chess during the week, and it is a little disagreeable sometimes dealing with elementary age students who just won't listen to your desire to be a little quieter. So if you may, for me, hold your applause, save for just the introductions of the candidates, and at the end, then we will have a great night. Now for the bios. All right. First off, Mr. David Mick currently serves with Governor Glenn Youngkin's Board of Juvenile Justice. I'm going to zoom a little bit. is also Chesapeake's Community Criminal Justice Board. He serves on that. Prior to that, David served as Assistant Attorney General under Jason Miyares, assigned to criminal litigation, cold cases, writs of actual innocence, and special investigations. In Chesapeake, David Mick has for years spent time as an assistant and deputy Commonwealth attorney before beginning his law career as a public defender too. He has a bachelor's in poli-sci from Christopher Newport and his JD from Widener University Commonwealth Law School in Pennsylvania. Please clap it up for David Mick. Matt Hamel is currently serving as Chesapeake's Commonwealth Attorney, looking to be reelected after his first being elected in 2021. Prior to serving as Chesapeake CA, Mr. Hamel served as a city councilman in Chesapeake from 2018 to 2021. In advance of elected service, Matt Hamel founded a firm serving military service members and spouses in domestic relations and criminal matters. Prior to entering the civilian legal sector, Mr. Hamel served as a Navy JAG attorney and prosecutor in the Navy's busiest litigation office. He also served as chief judge advocate to several commands. He volunteered to Iraq during the surge of 2007 through 2008, serving inside a detention facility in Baghdad, and was responsible for the parole style review boards of multi-national force leaders and the review of high-value detainees. Mr. Hamel continues to serve as a reservist JAG attorney. He received his bachelor's at Holy Cross and his JD from Rutgers Law University. Please clap it up first. All right, what we will do now is we have our opening statements. Remember, there will be 4 minutes apiece. And as the current Commonwealth Attorney is Matt Hamel, he shall begin with his first opening statement, and I will move right over here for the statement.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for showing up tonight. I want to first thank each and every one of you for showing up here in this event. I want to thank each and every person who's looking online. I know my in-laws are watching this in Long Island, and I'm so happy to address you this evening. I secondly want to thank Conrad SchezzWho, who contacted David, Mick, and myself and offered to put on this event. He pulled it off in 10 days. I think that's pretty remarkable that he did it. I've never been to this event before, but I think it's pretty great that he put this on. I guess I would be remiss if I didn't thank my wife and my oldest or my youngest daughter for being here, because as candidates, I think you would probably agree with me, we sign up for this, but our families do not. And it's been a challenge in the last several months. So I want to thank you, and I love you for being here. We're not supposed to clap during this thing, so So 4 years ago, I stood before you as a city councilman in the city of Chesapeake, and I asked you for your trust and your confidence and your support, and I laid out 3 things that I wanted to accomplish in my first term. I said, number one, we are in the middle of COVID. We have 7,000 backlog felonies. The courts have been closed for 2.5 years. By the time I got elected, they were closed for 2, and they were closed another 9 months until I was able to be elected to get into office. The courts reopened. I said, I want to attract, recruit, and invest lawyers around the state, prosecutors, to lead us out of this challenging time. We did that. The proof is in the pudding. Victims were not coming into the press. Their families were not coming into the press. And we navigated 7,000 backlog felonies with near perfection. And I say near perfection because we didn't win every case, but we did a darn good job. I'm so proud of the award-winning prosecutors that we have on our staff and what I was able to accomplish with that team through that challenging time. The second thing that I said that I wanted to focus on very distinctly was elder abuse. I said, I do not think that this city focuses enough on prosecution of crimes against our most vulnerable communities. That includes our elderly communities, construction companies that take advantage of our elderly communities, people that are scammed on phone. I started in my first year at Elder Abuse Task Force that was comprised of a multi-agency approach, FBI, U.S. Attorney's Office, U.S. Postal Inspectors, Chesapeake fraud detectives, my office, Adult Protective Services, Health and Human Services, and a host of other organizations like Chesapeake Integrative Health, Behavioral Health. And we not only came together to research and prosecute cases against our elderly, but we did community outreach. We created forums for these people, for seniors to come in and learn about scams that were happening, learn about construction companies that were taking advantage of them. And we did that. And the third thing that I wanted to focus on that I pledged to campaign on was heightening awareness of our diversionary programs. Before I got there, there was very little support for our drug court and our behavioral health docket. It's now called recovery court. It's not PC to call it drug court anymore, but I call it that because I think that's what most people know. These are programs where people who commit nonviolent offenses because of drug abuse and because of mental health illness, they deserve treatment and they deserve care, and we should treat the actual problem and not the symptoms so that they don't reoffend. Before I got there, we didn't conform to the national standards. We do that now. We now have the second largest combined drug court and behavioral health docket in the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, there's going to be a huge amount of difference between my opponent and I tonight. There's going to be a huge amount of difference in our leadership capacity, our ability to create budgets, our ability to hire and fire people, our experience in many different ways. And we're going to talk about that tonight. But I guess I'm getting the sign that I'm 30 seconds out from being pulled on the plug. So I just want to say thank you for being here. I hope you earn your confidence. I hope you earn your trust. I hope my record speaks for itself in the last 8 years of elected office. And I hope to be able to run again and continue serving as your Commonwealth's attorney. I'm Matt Hamel for Commonwealth's attorney. Thank you.
I also want to thank everybody for coming out. I do want to take a second, Mr. Rock, I'm going to thank my wife, because my wife, we have 2 little kids, a 9 and a 7-year-old, so she doesn't get to come to all these political events. Most spouses probably think that's a good thing because a lot of them don't like to be here, but I'm glad that she is here and I love her, and I'm glad we got the babysitter on time because that doesn't always happen either. So I also want to thank all the public service people that are here. We have law enforcement across this city here, and we have former prosecutors here, and we have people that have prosecuted cases in the city. We even have firefighters that live in this city but work in another city that are here, and I appreciate it. I do want to take a minute to thank a sponsor. When Conrad told us that we needed a little bit of money to get this room, I reached out to somebody that's always there for the community, Mr. David Rock with his Rock Book. I'd like to thank him a lot for allowing us to be able to have it. Now, a little bit about me. I'm not your typical politician. I grew up in West Virginia, off Turnpike Road. I didn't have a great, I had a great family, but there was a pretty, what you would describe as a high crime area. I've been the victim of crimes. I've seen friends commit crimes and go to prison. I've seen those same friends go to prison, be held accountable, and then come out and be incredibly successful because of programming. I've also seen friends of mine murdered because of gun violence. I've seen that. I've lived that. And where I grew up, I know what helped us the most. And what helped us the most was community engagement by our leaders and elected officials. Now, it didn't always happen. It was frustrating to see people show up on opening day and never come to another game. They showed up on opening day because people were there. But kids in my community needed them there all the time. And I think that's what we need to expect from our prosecutors. We need to be involved in the community. If we are supposed to protect this community, the best way we can protect victims is to make them not victims in the first place. So I understand that my opponent's, one of his goals was to create an elder abuse task force. But you can't create that at the expense of other community outreach. You can't do that at the expense of getting rid of Traveling the Road to Success every 15 minutes, the summer series, the basketball tournament. And what happens is you see a violent rise in juvenile violence. According to the Department of Juvenile Justice, violent crime by juveniles in this city is up 54%. That's because he doesn't do any more of that programming. He has his one baby, and that's all he cares about. I care about everybody. I care about campaign promises that I make, but I care about people, whether or not they can get access to the media. I've knocked 11,000 doors this campaign. And I hear time and time again that their Commonwealth's attorneys don't listen to them. They don't fight for them. They don't take any of the things they say to heart. And that's horrifying to me. Somebody that's been the victim of a crime, somebody who testified in court as a kid and they lost the case because the Commonwealth attorney obviously just didn't care, didn't ask questions, didn't do the prep work. That's what I hear. I don't need you to go to Wavy TV 10 for you to matter to me. You being a citizen of this city means you matter to me. I will do outreach for you. I will try to prevent crime, and I will hold people accountable. This idea that he has built some magnificent prosecutor's office, I think they have been prosecutors, but the fact of the matter is in the last 3.5 years, he's lost 80% of his office. Didn't fire them because they were bad. They left because of poor leadership. I'm running because our city deserves better. And throughout this evening, you will see why we deserve better. I'm David Mick, and I ask for your vote tomorrow, the next day, or up until November 4th. Thank you.
Let's try to hold the applause until after the closing statements, when we can give an applause for all the candidates at once. For a little bit of breakdown as to how I came to the questions. I came up with the questions after looking at some adjacent Commonwealth attorney forums, questionnaires from news sources, campaign websites, and of course my own political interest. And I'm going to follow a snake method where it's AB, then BA, then AB. Try to follow that format to the best of my ability. First question, and we will start again with Mr. Matt Hamel. What highlights from your experience make you the best for this role?
Well, thank you for the question, Conrad. And look, in case you can't tell by the way that I speak, I'm not from Hampton Roads. I was working for a bank in New York City on September 11th. My wife was putting me through law school, and I witnessed the 9/11 attacks. There was a plane that hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center. My building was attached to that, and number 2, World Financial, and I watched people jump to their death. I made the decision with my wife after watching dozens and dozens of people jump to their death that I wanted to serve the country. And my wife said, okay, how long is the commitment? It's 4 years. She's like, we'll do 4 years, but then you go to the reserves and we come back to New York. That's a fair bargain. We came down here, and I was stationed as a prosecutor in the Navy's busiest litigation office worldwide. I was also assigned as a special assistant U.S. attorney. I prosecuted cases, and although my opponent likes to say in his literature and what he hands out to everybody at the polls that I've never prosecuted a jury trial and I've never prosecuted a murder case, that is just patently a lie. You can Google me, and as a matter of fact, I've got somebody right now, part of our media team, posting these links to our website. You can go to our campaign site while we're doing this on your phone and see cases, articles that were written about me from 18, 19 years ago about jury trials that I tried. That's number 1. Number 2, I deployed to Iraq, and I led a team of translators, interrogators, jail personnel, lawyers, paralegals, as we investigated people that were rounded up by our sailors and our Marines through no fault of their own. We were looking for somebody in the surrounding Iraqi neighborhoods. It was my job to bring the rule of law to Iraq. I bring a leadership capacity and a healthy respect for the rule of law to this job. Thirdly, I've started a law firm, managed people, I've hired and fired people. I have also served on the city council where we voted on budgets, where we actually funded the police, the sheriff, and fire department. And I've created budgets in our office, $7 million budgets. I voted for the public safety pay plan when I was on the city council. I have the experience, I've got the track record, and then in the last 4 years, I've actually led a team of award-winning prosecutors. These weren't just people that I inherited. These were people that we went out and recruited, and we attracted them to our office. We had the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration Prosecutor of the Year. I'm getting the hug. Well, I will continue on, but I'm the only person in this race who has led any degree of an office, any degree of people, hired and fired people, and I hope to do that again for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Mr. Mick.
The reason why I'm most qualified for this job is because I've actually been a state's prosecutor. And I understand that Mr. Hamel said that he's tried a jury trial, but UCMJ and Virginia state courts are different. His jury trial had 5 naval sailors. You'd be lucky to get 5 naval sailors on your jury in the city of Chesapeake. We have 12 people from the community. Totally different. It's apples to oranges. It's not the same. Also, even if it was 20 years ago. Do you know how many changes there's been in the law 20 years ago? 20 years ago, we had jury sentencing. We don't have that anymore. There's so many changes that happen. That's why you have to be able to do it. Now, I believe that Matt has done great things. He has. That doesn't mean he gets to do anything he wants. That doesn't mean he's good at everything that he feels like doing. He has not been a prosecutor. And if the coach of an all-star football team doesn't know what plays to call, you're going to have a losing team. That's why you see murder convictions vacated for not putting in proper jury instructions. That's why you see murder convictions vacated for not cooperating with Brady and turning over exculpatory evidence. That's why you see cases where people are paralyzed from the waist down because they blew speedy trial. I don't even know if he knows what speedy trial is, but it's because he hasn't done the work. It's one thing to come in and be the leader. You know, when we had vacancies at the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, when we had deputy openings for Commonwealth Attorney's Office, where I was one and supervised a team of lawyers, I didn't see his application. He wanted to come in at the top. But if you want a prosecutor that loves the work and is passionate about criminal justice and isn't seeking a title, I am the one with that experience. I am the one that has done it throughout my career. I'm the one that was a public defender from 2008 to 2014 and defended people that didn't have the money to defend themselves. I'm the one who has gotten wrongfully convicted individuals out of prison after 42 years. I do that not for a title. I do that because it is my passion, and I want to bring that passion to Chesapeake, and that passion will make Chesapeake a better place to live.
Thank you, Mr. Mick. Now, would you like to take this opportunity for a rebuttal, Mr.
Look, David Mick likes to talk about his record. He has done one contested murder trial the entire time he was in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office at Chesapeake. One. It was Commonwealth versus Wayne Klein. And that case was actually overturned at the Court of Appeals. One contested murder trial, and he did. And that wasn't even a jury trial. And then he did 3 jury trials the entire time that he was in Chesapeake. I did more cases in my first year as a legal JAG attorney than he did the entire time he was in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. He wants to talk about his leadership. He puts stuff on paperwork at the polls that are lies about me. He says, I've never tried a jury trial, ever. Never tried a murder trial. He hands that to every single person who comes to the poll. If that is the kind of campaign you're going to run, where you are going to lie to the voters to get them to vote for you, good luck when the press comes and the victims come, the cases don't go your way, and you have to tell the truth. Fact of the matter is, I have done all of the things that he has said. I have done all of the cases that he claims he has done, and then some. And so what we're here talking about is just a bunch of David Mick math that doesn't even make sense. He makes up statistics, he lies about my record, and that's probably.
And everyone, I would like to give you a chance for a rebuttal to the rebuttal, Mr. Mick. 90 seconds.
I'll be brief. Yeah, I've tried one murder trial as a Commonwealth attorney, but I've handled many. I also tried many as a public defender. I also argued many in the Court of Appeals. I also argued criminal cases in the Supreme Court of Virginia. And yeah, that Klein case, it did overturn. But let me tell you about that case. That was a case that everybody said, actually, DJ Hanson's like, why don't you plead this in NGRI? I said, because I don't think the guy's insane. I took that to a trial. Judge agreed with me. We went to the Court of Appeals. It came back down. We won it again. And then I argued it again in the Court of Appeals and we won. Those are facts he leaves out. It's just like discovery. This is real life. Criminal law is real life. And he likes to leave out facts. So have I tried one? Yes. He's tried 0. 0. So let's talk about some stats. I'm ready to get into it because his stats are Wallacub. My stats are from the Supreme Court of Virginia, from Department of Juvenile Justice, from the Virginia Crime Commission. That's where my stats come from. So if you want a prosecutor that's going to base his decisions on AI and fake news, HNN, vote for him. Do you want a guy that's going to dig into the numbers for the betterment of this city? Vote for me.
Thank you, sir. Now on to question number 2. And following the same format, we will begin this time with Mr. David Mick. It has been stated that crime rates have been dropping in Chesapeake, and Chesapeake is one of America's safest cities. What influence does the Commonwealth Attorney's Office have in that outcome? And do you have confidence that Chesapeake is a safe city?
So I'm glad you asked that because there are some statistics that show that crime is down, but you have to look at the numbers, right? What happened was in my opponent's first year in office, crime went through the roof. It is now back to where it was when I left. You don't get to create the problem and then have Jason Yaris come in with Operation Ceasefire, have the police department up there encounters with law enforcement, which is all in his report that he cites, and have Shot Spotter come out and flock cameras come out and then take the credit for it. The fact of the matter is the things that he's doing in that office is what's making Chesapeake less safe. Let's look at a stat here. And if you look at his chart that he listed, even the ones that he looks at, homicides, robberies, burglaries, larcenies, they all stayed the same or rose. So yeah, you can take a culmination of numbers, but the reality is it's back to where it was when I left. Here's something else we should be really frightened of. Did you guys see the news last week when somebody walked into Greenbrier Mall and stole $500,000 in jewelry? Did you guys see that? Well, let me tell you, since my opponent took over, robberies are up 38%. 38%. And you want to know what's even crazier about that? In Norfolk, they're down 41%. In Portsmouth, they're down 21%. And the reason why they're up here is because nobody has respect for the punishment in Chesapeake, because you have somebody that gives community service for carjacking. You have somebody that gives all suspended time to somebody that commits sexual assault and rape on a 14-year-old. That's the environment that you create when you don't understand what this job is, and all you want to do is get any conviction, no matter what the punishment is, to brag about it later. I've never bragged about conviction rates. I didn't even want to talk about conviction rates in this debate until he started floating around his 95% conviction rate that he's never once proved. It's just not right. So that's the problem. We have an environment where juvenile crime is through the roof, robberies are up, and most other violent crimes are about the same. So that's what he needs to answer for. It's his leadership that has brought us here.
Thank you, Mr. Mick. And now, Mr. Hamel, you may have full 2 minutes if you want to just convert that into one big rebuttal.
You just repeat the question. I don't
Yes, sir.
what the question.
It has been stated that crime rates have been dropping in Chesapeake, and Chesapeake is one of America's safest cities. What influence does the Commonwealth Attorney's Office have in that outcome? And do you have confidence that Chesapeake is a safe city?
Well, yes, I have confidence that Chesapeake is a safe city. Look, we have a safe city, number one, because we have an excellent police force. When I came to office, we were in the middle of the COVID nightmare. There was civil unrest in the world. There was civil unrest in the country. Courts were closed. We have an excellent police department that sends us excellent investigations. That is why we have a 95% conviction rate. And David Mick knows that the overwhelming majority of cases, especially when you're facing a 7,000 backlog felony, and you have 5 circuit court judges at the time, 5 circuit court rooms, you can't possibly prosecute 7,000 jury trials. The system will not function. We do prosecute the hard cases. We prosecute especially the sexual assault cases. And the reason why Chesapeake is a safe city is, number one, we have an excellent police force. Number two, we have excellent prosecutors. David worked with most of the, as a matter of fact, I offered David a job when I won 4 years ago, and 3 out of the 4 deputies stuck around to do the hard work. And what he's saying now about how we lead this office is patently a disservice to them and every single one of the prosecutors that we have on staff. He worked with them. They're the ones, the paralegals, the legal secretaries, and the lawyers. And he's citing these statistics of us losing 43 out of 50 people. These are lies. They are lies. It's a disservice to the people. I still have Stephanie Pass as my deputy for the JDR court. I did have Derek Wagner until he became a judge. He was so good. I've got DJ Hansen, who's here tonight, a 31-year prosecutor who was the prosecutor of the year among 1,000 prosecutors in the entire state last year. I've got a guy that I recruited out of Newport News who runs our elder abuse task force and is a fraud. He is the premier fraud prosecutor. Went to a training recently. The instructor didn't show up and they asked him to fill in and teach a section. These are the people leading your office. It doesn't even matter. I could be a buffoon. These people are excellent. He worked with them. He knows it's false what he's saying. Give me another 4 years to show you further. We'll reduce those stats even further.
Thank you, Mr. Hamel, for that. Would you like to rebut that, Mr. Dick?
I just want to say this. The only person who has not cited anything is my opponent. So these numbers are from the Supreme Court, which generates from Alan Krasnoff. I don't think you're going to call Alan Krasnoff a liar, but this is what the conviction rate is for. Give me a second. This is what they are, right here. This is what you do as a trial lawyer. You bring evidence. This is what the conviction rates are. 2022, guilty was 58% of the time for felonies. 2023, it went down to 56%. 2024, it went down to 54.9%. 2025, it went down again to 54.6%. Those are the facts. Now, let me tell you, he can say that I left. I did leave. I didn't think his leadership was good. I took a pay cut to leave. I didn't think what he was doing was the right thing. And if he wanted to do it his way, he could do it. But the fact of the matter is he lost 40 substantially great prosecutors, many of which are in this room right now. So that is facts. It's not made up. It was given to us by HR. I mean, Chesapeake HR isn't lying. That's what the facts are. We posted it. Those are facts.
Thank you, Mr. Mick. Would you like to rebut any of that or roll into the next question?
I would like to rebut that because then again, it's Mick math once again. We only have 28 prosecutors on our staff right now. We're slated for 30. For him to say that we lost 40 prosecutors means that I lost every single one of my prosecutors, hired 12 more, and lost them. This is patently ridiculous math, okay? The statistics are patently ridiculous. What David Mick will tell you is that statistics can mean anything. He said it in a debate earlier this year. Those stats he's citing means he either doesn't understand how guilty pleas work, where we sometimes dismiss certain cases or not process them to secure the more significant conviction, or he's trying to lie to you. Stats do not make sense. The math does not make sense. The prosecutors that we lost don't make sense. The people that are still there in the office make sense.
All right, we're moving on to question number 3. We will begin this time with Mr. Manhattan. The law enforcement system has many parts, of which the CA's office is just one. Do you rate your appreciation and envision the CA's relationship with other parts, say the police and the sheriff's office? And do you maintain a healthy respect for the possibility of the influence of investigations of wrongdoing by the police and the sheriff's office?
Well, first of all, I do not think that any Commonwealth Attorney's office in any city can function unless there is a healthy relationship between the police department and the Commonwealth Attorney's office. I think there are sometimes challenges that happen. I think there are sometimes some issues that happen in certain investigations. But overall, we as prosecutors, we need the police to do excellent investigations. We need them to do thorough investigations. We need them to cultivate witnesses and be good witnesses themselves. And then we need to prosecute the cases. I think, and this is not just me. We have people on my team, people that have been there for 25 and 30 years. Most of my people have been in the office for so long, except for the select few like David Mick, who left us during a COVID nightmare. The people that stuck around have excellent relationships with the police department. We need to be partners with them. We do it. Now, are there certain circumstances where police officers engage in misconduct? Absolutely. Are there times where we need to put a police officer on a Brady list because they lied about something during an investigation, or they've lied about what they've done out in town? Absolutely. That stuff happens, but that is few and far between. I would say that our record, we wouldn't have the conviction rates we have. We wouldn't have the success we have if we didn't work together. We need to have a healthy relationship. We have a healthy relationship. Now, the sheriff, he's here tonight, Dave Rosado. The sheriff's office runs the jail, they run the courts, they serve our process. We have a fantastic relationship with the sheriff's office, and we also have a fantastic relationship with the Virginia State Police. And that starts between a relationship at the top, and then it trickles down. But our line, L-I-N-E, not line, our line prosecutors who deal with the police every single day, they are the ones who have the best relationships, and they're the ones that put on the excellent prosecutions, and that's why we have the conviction rates we do.
Thank you, Mr. Hamel. And now on to yourself, Mr. David Mick.
I think it's absolutely necessary to have a great relationship with law enforcement, and I do. Many of them are here, and many of them support me. Many of them have donated to my campaign because they believe that we need better. This is one of the reasons why I'm running, because that relationship, when I talk to police officers, because I actually talk to people, they say it's a bad relationship. And here's the other thing. This might be why. Here's another statistic that is from the Virginia Crime Commission that Mr. Hamel thinks isn't real. But in 2024, he null-crossed or dismissed more than 60% of the assault battery on law enforcement in our city. That is ridiculous. And that is unfair to our officers. Our officers in our city work hard. And as a prosecutor, I know they're not out here just taking out any kind of assault battery law enforcement. It's when they're getting spit on or kicked in the face or punched or scratched so bad they got to get stitches. Those are the cases that he's dismissing. And when he says, well, sometimes we got to dismiss cases. Well, when you dismiss those cases, that doesn't count as a win. You don't get to have a guy charged with 12 felonies, dismiss all of them but one and give them 30 days and count that as 12 convictions. That's not right. And it's dishonest for him to say that. But he will do that because he wants to have a number to brag about. What I care about is justice being done. And I can tell you this, I will be a better prosecutor for our police officer. I will stand up for them. I will talk to them before I give out horrible plea deals, like the guy who shot an M1 30-06 round through the Bearcat, and that let it down to almost nothing, and then gave the guy 550 of his guns back to his dad. Do you think police officers like that? They're putting their lives on the line. And this guy just wants to do whatever he can to get a conviction. Well, let me tell you something. Conviction doesn't always equal justice. If you want justice and you want people that really stand up for their first responders, I'm your candidate.
Thank you, Mr. Mick. Is there any event you would like to rebut, Mr. Mick?
This is again the gross distortion of statistics by David Mick. He clearly doesn't understand how these cases work. That's what he's trying to say. Like I said before, the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, the Bearcat case in particular he talked about was run by our Chief Deputy, TJ Hansen. He met with the law enforcement individuals. It was a difficult case to try. We wanted to make sure that we got guns out of that individual's hands permanently. There was some evidentiary concern with the case, and we were able to secure a conviction in a case with consultation of the law enforcement individuals involved. We don't make plea deals in a vacuum. We don't just walk out there and secure a conviction like he's talking about. We go and we talk to the victims. In this case, we talked to the police. I met with them. DJ met with them. We brought them into our conference room. We talked about the case. We talked about the weaknesses of the case. We talked about the strengths of the case. We had their buy-in for that particular case. And he wants to come in here. He wants to cherry pick cases. He wants to cherry pick results to try to get a cheap campaign political point. And I'll tell you what, that's just cheap politics.
Thank you, Mr. Hamel. And if you'd like Mr. Mick to respond to that and roll into the next question, you will be first for the next question. Number 4. True or false? The Commonwealth Attorney's Office has enough resources to do its job. If you're in the CA position and receive a healthy infusion of additional resources in 2026, how do you wish to allocate those new resources?
So what you always need more resources if you are in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. You know, the reality is the amount of Axon that prosecutors have to work absolutely wears down all prosecutors. And it's really hard to understand the actual volume of Axon unless you've actually done it, which my opponent hasn't. He's never carried a full caseload with full Axon footage, with a full DUI docket. He just hasn't done it. So it's one thing for these prosecutors to tell you that they're burnout, but it's another thing to have actually experienced it. And I have. And that'll be what makes me advocate more for my office. That'll be what makes me get every type of grant I can get. You know, the Operation Ceasefire grant, I believe that one just went away now. I would have fought for that. I would be at city council arguing for more money. I don't ever see him at city council. You know, it's just not there. You know, he makes a lot of money. That's great. You know, but I just don't see him there. We do have to have more money, but you got to be willing to go to Richmond. You got to be willing to go to council. You got to be willing to ask. You get absolutely zero when you don't ask. You know, the compression pay is great, but that's something the city does. We need to ask for more prosecutors, more bodies. But you can't do it if you don't ask. Now, the other thing I just want to say, kind of a rebuttal, but I think everybody should take note that when you're a trial lawyer, you have to bring evidence. What politicians do is they just say things. I am here with evidence. He is here with political words. If you want a prosecutor that understands the difference, vote for me.
Mr. Mick, and now for yourself, Mr. Matheny.
The fact that he brought up the Axon video shows he has no idea what we accomplished in the last 4 years when I got there. Number one, the first thing I did, I realized that our prosecutors were overworked and they were watching Axon video with deplorable conditions. We had bad connections in the courthouse, and we had very limited technology from him and his predecessor. You know what I did? I advocated with the police department to get Axon enhanced technology where we could have transcripts and we could have multi-screen videos to cut down over 25% of what our prosecutors had to watch on Axon video. That has created efficiencies for the office. It has improved their quality of life. We did that. My second year in office, I was voted by my peers among Hampton Roads to be the second district congressional representative to the Commonwealth Attorney Services Council. That is the lobbying arm, the statutory arm that goes to Richmond, and we advocated for more money. I went to city council and our human resources department, and I have increased the pay of every single prosecutor on our staff by far more than 10% since I've been there in the last 4 years. We did that in the first 2 years. And by the way, I voted on the public safety pay plan when I was on city council to make sure that we were in the top 3 in the region. David Mick likes to cite stats from his friends in the Department of Juvenile Justice. I'll tell you what, and like I said, you can go online tonight, go online tomorrow, check out the website, check out my website on Facebook. Every single one in every crime category in Chesapeake has gone down over the 4 years that I've been here. If you don't take my word for it, go to the Chesapeake Police Department annual report. We didn't even create it. It is a third-party organization. Every single person that ran for re-election last year, every single one, especially the Republicans, said how safe Chesapeake was. 13th safest city in America. I've been in office in one form or fashion for the last 8 years. If I've done such a horrible job, why are we still 13th in the nation?
Thank you, Mr. Hamel. Any of that you would like to rebut, Mr. Mick?
I would just like to say, I already addressed that pretty early on, but he leaves out what it was when he took office. He shows the problem he created, and then when ceasefire comes in, and when police officers get block cameras and increase their rate of interaction with youth, then it goes down. He created that problem, and now he claims that he solved it when other people did it for him. That's why he's a politician. And I think it's really important to know too. He's like, I've been in public office and I should stay here. Yeah, I believe you think you should stay here. That's what politicians want. I think the people in Chesapeake want an actual prosecutor who's going to care more about doing the job than keeping the job.
All right, if you'd like to rebut, you may, Mr. Hamel.
I just have one thing to say. There's only one person on this stage who has an executive leadership position in a political party, and that's David Mick. He is the vice chairman of the Republican Party of Chesapeake. If you don't believe me, again, go to ChesapeakeGOP.com. Look it up. He's there. I'm not a politician. I've never been a member of any leadership position in any political party. That's my report.
We're rolling on now to question number 5. And Mr. Hamel, you will be first. It isn't reasonable to devote Commonwealth's Attorney's Office resources to every single Chesapeake case. Thusly, prioritization becomes important. How do you wish to prioritize the Chesapeake CA office caseload?
Well, I didn't really get a chance to answer your first question about the resources that the city of Chesapeake provides us for the state. I will say that the city of Chesapeake does a wonderful job of financing the prosecutors in our office. We are slated to have up to 30 prosecutors. 8 of them are fully funded in our budget by the city council and the city of Chesapeake. The other 22 are funded by the state. So do I think we have enough resources? No. Do I think the city of Chesapeake needs to pull their weight? No, they should be getting the support from the state. As far as what we are statutorily mandated to do, we as the city of Chesapeake, we are obligated, the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, to prosecute every felony that occurs within the city. We are not obligated to prosecute every misdemeanor. I do put a prosecutor on every single DUI. I put a prosecutor on every juvenile crime that occurs on school grounds, every juvenile weapon offense, every domestic violence case. I do put prosecutors on cases where we are not statutorily mandated to do. Do we have enough resources? No. Do we make do with what we have? Absolutely. Do we have the results to show for it? Yes. Do I have people in my office who are better than me, who are smarter than me, who can prosecute cases better than me? Just like I married a woman so much smarter than me? Yes, we do. And I'm very, very proud of the team we have with the resources.
You do a lot when you marry someone smarter than you, and I agree with that. Mick?
One of the ways we can help prosecutors in the office is to have a commonwealth attorney that actually tries cases, that actually helps out and carries the load a little bit. I will be in there every day trying murder cases. I will be in there helping people with their difficult cases. Because what we have seen here, and what we've heard is we have heard Mr. Hamel say, well, we got to get these pleas because some of them are hard. Well, those are the cases you got to try. You got to try. Victims want you to try. And if they're hard, you got to dig in and you got to try it. Because what I don't think is okay is I don't think it's okay to lead an office and allow plea agreements like Tyler Abrams, charged with malicious wounding and abduction, bashed his wife's face several times into the wall. They reduced it to unlawful wounding, all suspended time. Let's talk about somebody else under his leadership. He says my prosecutors do great. Well, they do what he tells them to do. They do what his policies allow them to do. Let's talk about Mark Anderson, charged with multiple felonies under Matt Hamel. All no pros. Later, you know what he does? Murders somebody in Suffolk. There are real consequences. This is not a game for me. It might be a position or a title for my opponent, but these are real consequences. And I think we need a leader that understands those consequences. Somebody that's actually talked to victims and tried the difficult cases. That's what this is about. It's not about a title. It's about what we can do to make our city safer. And I will be a prosecutor that leads by example, that is in the courtroom, fighting the hard fights, standing up for victims, standing up for our law enforcement. That's the leader I'll be. I won't be the guy sitting in the office telling everybody what to do. I will show them how to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Mick. Any rebuttal thing?
The comment that he's going to be in court every day shows a patent misunderstanding of what the job actually entails. He doesn't understand that you have to serve on so many different statutory boards and commissions. You have to serve on the Community Criminal Justice Board. You have to serve on the Drug Court Steering Committee. You have to serve on the Behavioral Health Docket Steering Committee. You have to go to Richmond and serve on the Virginia Association of Commonwealth Attorneys and the Commonwealth Attorney Services Council. You have to serve on the Crime Line Board. You have to manage a team of lawyers. You have to do human resources issues. You've got to approve budgets. You've got to respond to FOIA requests. And by the way, we have 4,300 concealed carry permits that are reviewed every year and another 2,500 civil cases. David Mick has never tried a civil case in his life. He doesn't understand the breadth of the job. He's saying he's going to be in court every day. Well, who's going to be doing all of those other things? Now, he talks about results. And I'd like to get into some results. I've got about 6 or 7 cases in the last 6 months I'd like to talk about, but I'm going to talk about one. This is the Baby Daniel case. The Baby Daniel cold case was solved, and Melissa Chrisman, age 46, was sentenced to 32 active years in prison for a 2003 murder of her newborn baby. This was just done a year ago. We received a 67 active year sentence for a first-degree murder. This was like 3 months ago. I'm out of time.
Yes, you may.
Just because Matt can't do those things and try cases doesn't mean that somebody can't do that. In Nancy Parr's last month in office, she was in General District Court doing a murder prelim. Just because he can't do it doesn't mean it shouldn't be done or that somebody can't do it. And the Baby Daniel case originated when I was in the office.
And that was a very important comment, if you'd like to rebut that.
I didn't say I couldn't do that. I do try. As a matter of fact, I tried cases last year, multiple DUIs. I did multiple cases against Teddy Black. David Mick has tried to make that a campaign point. The point of what we're trying to say is the office has amazing results. We have got so many wonderful murder convictions, so many wonderful. We've had Vernon Brooks, 64, 2 life sentences plus 230 years for aggravated sexual battery. Baby Daniel case. Jose Escobar sentenced to life sentence plus 75 years last year. Ishmael Seymour, 31 active years in prison for hitting and killing 2 City of Chesapeake employees. Terry Bull, 135 years in prison, child pornography offenses. Raheem Cherry, 6-7 years. These are just 6 cases I wrote down as I was leaving the office that we did press releases on in the last year. Those are just 6. Our prosecutors do this work every single day. This is not about talking about how we can try cases, how we can do this or that. And by the way, his boss, or his old boss, and I don't know if he was fired or if he quit to campaign full-time at the registrar's office and hand out lies about me every day. But Attorney General Miyares, how many cases did he try in the last 4 years?
Would you like a crack a response on that, Mr. Mick?
Well, Jason Miyares is running for the top prosecutor in the city of Chesapeake, who is constitutionally mandated to try cases and prosecute crime. He's attorney general. Different jobs. Maybe you should run for attorney general. But here's the other thing, right? You know what 2 cases he didn't talk about that are still on his press release page? What about the 2 cases that got vacated? The 2 murder cases that got vacated. One of them, he pled to 70% less time. You think we got an update on that? No, we didn't get an update on that. Now, the other thing is, did I quit my job? Absolutely. And here's the thing. Let me tell you why I quit my job. Because I have a 9 and a 7-year-old kid. And I know what it's like to grow up in a high crime area. And the way he is handing out soft plea deals, we are headed straight for that type of community. So did I quit my job? 100%. And you know what? A lot of politicians do that. John Reed, is Spanberger working? She stopped being in Congress. You know, that's what happens. And this idea that I'm not allowed to quit my job so I can campaign, that's what politicians do. They don't want people to challenge them. They want to stay and do whatever they can to keep their position of power. But let me tell you something. I grew up in Portsmouth. We had to fight for everything we had. And when I see my city going down that same path with a soft on crime prosecutor, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to sacrifice every single thing that I can, like I did every single day as a prosecutor in this city. And I will do that every day of the week. And if I had to go back to do it, I would absolutely do it because our city needs it.
All right, we've got a couple of rebuttals. Would you like to rebut to that or roll into the next
I
one?
would like to rebut that. Because David Mick keeps talking about these 2 cases. He's talking about the Tia Johnson case. He's saying we lost that case because the prosecutors didn't turn over evidence. He's saying that we withheld exculpatory evidence. I mean, there is a court order, and I can give you the case number of those we have there, CR 24-775-00, where the judge said there was absolutely zero Brady violations. There was no prosecutorial misconduct, and he keeps lying to the people. He keeps lying to you to collect votes about that case. He talks about the other case, where that case was the judge said he gave an erroneous jury instruction and vacated the sentence. We retried it. We consulted with the family. The family said, please plead that out. We don't want to go through that again. We got a 23-year sentence, and this guy's essentially going away for the rest of his life. He wants to make cheap political points about these 2 cases and lie to you about what actually happened. These are lies, just like when he's at the polls, just like when he's handing to every single one of the 19,000 voters who have gone to the polls so far. He's handing them a piece of paper that says, I've never tried a jury case or a murder. These are lies. He just lies. And those are lies, which is the point.
All right, for the sake of our own endurance, since he mentioned lies, I would like to rebut that. And as you would like to skip, but going forward, let's try to get it to one more rebut.
Yeah, just real quick, I'm going to read something for you. Because he's done so little work in circuit court, let me first say, too, the first case I ever tried as a lawyer back in 2007 was a civil case. It was a lawsuit that was filed against my client by the Virginia Pilot, and we won. So I have done civil work. It's about as long ago as when you tried a criminal case. But what I will say is in circuit court, we have transcripts. And I got the transcript of the case that he's talking about. And here it is. This is what the judge says. We all know the golden rule is in handling a criminal case because prosecutors have the highest duty of lawyering there is, which is to seek justice. If you're questioning whether it's exculpatory, it's probably exculpatory, and you should give up the case. He says, I know what court thinks it's willful misconduct. He goes, but I think it's negligence. Negligence. That is what I've always said about that case. And if you were okay with a person who is in charge of your justice system and is the backstop of your justice system, if you are okay with someone thinking that negligence in prosecution is good enough, I hate to be in the city that turns into, because negligence is never the standard for justice, and it should never be the standard for any type of criminal case.
All right, I would like to move on to the next question. We will begin with Mr. Manhattan. Conviction rates are thrown around so much that I even heard in a Richmond Commonwealth attorney debate earlier this year that the Richmond CA was batting 100% on homicide charges. This led me to thinking, if the measure of justice is simply locking people up, is it necessarily a light on the CA office if someone beats the prosecutors if we assume justice wins out for the innocent first? And Hamel first.
I'm not sure that I fully understand the question, to be honest with you, Conrad. The fact of the matter is conviction rates do matter. Conviction rates matter because when we try a case, if we get a case, people forget this, but police investigate the case and we try the case. If we get a case and it comes in and it is not adequately investigated, we don't have the witnesses to do it, we will say to the police, no, we're not going to, they may even charge it. Police say, we're not going to try that case because it is not ethical. I had a case about 6 months ago. One of my senior prosecutors, probably the best adult sex crime prosecutor in the Commonwealth of Virginia, she comes in, she says, look, I got assigned this murder case. I watched the accident video. I don't feel like it's ethical for me to try that. If you make me try it, I'm going to quit on you. I said, well, listen, I would never ask you to do something that you don't feel ethically okay with prosecuting. We looked at the video together. Our whole entire management team looked at the video together. We were able to convict that person for possession of firearm by felon and a bunch of other things where he went away for a significant amount of time. Yes, conviction rates matter, but justice matters. And that is done by looking at each and every case, having ethical prosecutors to do the job. And that's what we have on our team.
And Mr. Mick.
As a prosecutor and former public defender, that absolutely, I understand your question. Because when I would interview people at the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, if somebody came in and said, this is my conviction rate, I checked them off the list. That's not what this is about. And as I said, the only reason why we're talking about this is because he has floated around this idea that he has a 95% conviction rate. That's not what this job is about. This job is about fairness and justice. And it's actually somewhat scary to me as a prosecutor and somebody that has worked on writs of actual innocence cases and gotten wrongfully convicted people out of prison, that you would say and brag that a prosecutor came to you and said, I don't think we can ethically go forward on this murder case. And then you say, but we found something to convict him of, and he got a lot of time. He's going to be there a long time. Either you have the evidence or you don't. But if you were so desperate to keep the job, you will get whatever stat you can get, whether or not it's fair and just. But if you can get that conviction and it makes you look good, you'll do it. And that actually is scary to me. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running this, because we can't have a Commonwealth Attorney's Office that only cares about, let me just get this guy to put away. What you should be doing is how can we balance the rights of the victim and the rights of the defendant? And how can we create an environment where people who offend don't reoffend? The reality is 99 times out of 100, people are going to get out eventually. But what are they going to do when they get out? And those are the things I think about when I'm offering plea agreements. What can we do to make this person better when they get out so that they don't reoffend? That's what I'm worried about. That's the justice part, not the numbers part. So conviction rates do matter. And they matter because if that's the only thing you focus on, then you lose the idea of what justice actually is.
All right, and remember, I'm going to try and stick to one rebuttal if he's going forward. Would you like to rebut that?
David Mick talks about his experience. He did 3 jury trials while he was in the office. All those years he was in the office, 3. He lost 2/3 of them. He did 1 murder case. It was a bench trial that was overturned. He can talk all he wants about plea agreements, what his stats were. The guy pled out over 99% of his cases. To come up here and pontificate about how we behave, how the prosecutors who used to work with behave, and how they look at cases for justice is an absolute disservice to the people that he wants to.
And one rebuttal for that, if you'd like.
See, that's how you miss the point. It's not about how they look at them. They look at them by how their leadership is. It's a leadership problem. You know, I heard at the polls, you know, he said, if you let him, you know, everybody's going to lose their job. He's going to fire everybody. No. I'm running to fire one guy, and he's standing on the stage with me. I believe those decisions are being made because of bad leadership, somebody that doesn't actually understand what justice is.
All right, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'll be halfway. So into question number 8, which I will start with Mr. Mick this time. I will not necessarily begrudge someone for changing parties. I used to be an ardent conservative, and now I'm pretty hard progressive. Changing parties might mean changing ideology. Does switching parties change philosophy behind prosecutorial approach? Mr. Mick.
Well, I'm going to take that in 2 parts. I do believe people change parties. But the problem is if you change parties because somebody in your party decided to run against you, you're not really changing parties because of your values. I'm all for people changing their values, but I don't believe that he has. I think he changed parties for political preservation, to be able to keep his job. He could have ran in the primary, but he didn't. And then when he left the party, he didn't immediately join the Democratic Party. He still called Republicans to try to get their endorsement. And they said no. They were supporting me. And what happens is when he left, he didn't say any of the reasons why some people leave. He didn't say, you know, Trump's bad or the Republicans have bad policies. He actually said that his values didn't change much. But they changed when his job was in jeopardy. In prosecution, it does matter what your parties are. That's when we talk about whether or not you believe in getting rid of cash bail. That's when you talk about whether or not you believe in mandatory minimums. That's when you talk about whether or not you believe in actually prosecuting assault battery law enforcement. That's ideas about whether or not you think early earned sentencing credits was a good bill or not. I personally don't think it is. I think it's had horrible consequences. But his largest donors pushed that bill through. So, I mean, I think we do need to know what he believes in because it has a drastic impact on how crime is punished in your city. I've been honest about how I'll handle crime. I've been honest about my political beliefs. But depending on where we're at and what people we're in front of, things are said differently by my opponent. So I would like to know what his stances are on the political party. And this whole hedge that people agree 80% of the time, I believe that. But that other 20% is what makes you believe in Democrat values or Republican values. What's that 20%? That's what we should ask.
And to Mr. Hamel.
Well, that, I don't know if y'all want to buckle your seatbelt up, but we could start talking about politics in the city of Chesapeake now. And we could go for about 3 or 4 hours because the Republican Party of Chesapeake is the most corrupt organization that supports a very select few people, so that a very select few people can continue to get paid money to push development deals through so the Forbes family can collect money. That's what happens, number one. Number two, you could ask anybody, they're just too afraid to say it publicly. What happened to Steve Best, to Susan Vitale, to Tom Mercer, to Sam Boone, to Robert Ike, to Don Carey is disgusting. These are people that have wonderful Republican values, and these are people that were good people who were tossed aside because they didn't want to stand by and just say yes to the same old Chesapeake BS and the same old politics. Now, when I did quit the party 2 years ago, I wrote a letter. I think it was viewed by 176,000 people without me paying a penny on Facebook because that's how many people wanted to see it. And you know what? I was done with politics. I was done running. I was happy to go back to private practice where I was making more money, quite frankly. And we have 3 kids still either in college or go to college. And I was done. These are the facts. As far as what I believe in, there is not one victim that comes in to our office where we say, are you a Republican or are you a Democrat? Not one. We prosecute the crime. I believe in the exact same. I was a moderate Republican 4 years ago, 2 years ago. I was somebody that wanted to prosecute violent crime hard. I was somebody that wanted to champion diversionary programs, which we've done. But at the same time, I didn't want to prosecute social policy issues, and I don't want to do that as a Democrat. I was a moderate Republican. I'm a moderate Democrat. And by the way, I wasn't even going to run again until I was asked by many of our local leaders to step up and do it. And I did it to continue serving the public.
All right, 1 minute. And again, no statements about what his values are. If I'm a Democrat voter, I would want to hear that. Do you really believe in what we believe in? Or are you using us for a sample ballot? I think it's that. Now, here's the other thing. Yes, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. It doesn't. But it does matter how you approach cases. It does matter if you don't think assault battery law enforcement should be a crime. Maybe that's why his dismissal rate is 60% on those. I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't know how to do it. But we deserve a right to know. And if he's not going to be willing to tell you when he's point blank asked about it, I would have concerns whether I'm a Republican or a Democrat. I want people to be honest with me. That's what I want. Now, here's the other thing. It's weird to me that he said he left the Republican Party 2 years ago because he was at our meetings last year. He didn't send a letter to leave until November. And here's the other thing. We talk about all these political parties. You know, we had a very, very contested sheriff's race. And there was people on both sides. You had one person saying the boogeyman name he says, and you had another person saying this. But let me tell you something. Everybody on that side, on either side of that sheriff's race in the Republican Party, for the most part, had endorsed me before he even filed as a Democrat. That's why he left. And you know that's why he left, because he won't tell you why he's a Democrat. Because he's not.
One more bundle on that matter, too.
I honestly am flabbergasted by these comments because are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with this? We prosecute violent crime hard. I don't want to prosecute abortion. Do you? Do you want to honestly prosecute doctors and women who get abortion? I don't want to do that. Do you want to prosecute people? Do you think things that are going on in this country are good right now? Do you think the way this country is going, the way we treat our allies is good? Do you think taking away people's civil rights is good? We work very hard, by the way, with ICE to give them the people that we prosecute or the people that are released to make sure they know that they're here if they're here illegally. But we don't go after innocent people. Do you honestly think the things that you're saying, the things that you believe are what I believe in? Are you honestly saying that I have no values? We've done amazing things in this office. We have heightened our diversionary programs. That's what I believe in, giving people second chances for nonviolent offenses and prosecuting violent crime hard. If I wanted to change social policy, I'd run for the House of Delegates, I'd run for Congress. I'm not. We are prosecutors. We prosecute crime. We prosecute the law, and that's it.
20 seconds. This is important too. He said it on podcast and he said it here. He doesn't want to run for Commonwealth's attorney because he believes in prosecuting, he believes in justice, and he has the passion like I do. He ran the first time based on the podcast of the Arrington Gavin show that powerful people came to him and he just serendipitously decided to run. And now he's telling you he didn't want to run, but powerful people in the other party came to him and told him to run. Personally, I don't want a prosecutor that's told to run by powerful people. I want a prosecutor who has a calling to run, and that's me.
All right. I'm going to pick my two favorite questions of the ones I have left, and then we're going to go into closing statements after that. So I want to begin with Mr. Hamel here. Let's tackle crimes committed by juveniles. There's traditional charging, there's diversion programs, and there's restorative justice programs. Virginia Beach tested this recently, finding a 26% recidivism for juveniles charged and put on probation, 13% recidivism for diversion programs, and only 3% recidivism for restorative justice programs. How should Chesapeake CA office handle all three?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because this is a talking point that David has brought up multiple times during the campaign. he has talked about a 4% juvenile conviction rate. I don't know where he's got that number. It's more Mick math that he brings up, and he gets it from people or stats that we can't even find them online anywhere. The fact of the matter is the overwhelming majority of juvenile cases, regardless of how the Commonwealth's attorney attempts to prosecute the case, are findings under advisement where these juveniles are given a chance to rehabilitate, to do community service, to have their cases dropped or altogether dismissed so we don't ruin their lives. I'm going to give you a perfect example. There was a case that happened at Great Bridge High School where there was a female and 3 males, and they were monkeying around with a taser. The 4 of them, they were tasing each other. I believe it was the female, but don't quote me, was charged with a felony, and the other 3 were charged with misdemeanors. The case came in. These were kids acting like idiots, like I did, like you did when you were in college. Of course, we dropped those cases. So by David Mick math, we had a 0% conviction rate on those 4 cases. But I would defy anybody in this audience or anybody watching online to say that that was not justice. That is how we handle cases in the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office. We have one of the finest juvenile domestic relations team in the entire Commonwealth. David knows it because Stephanie Pash, who is my deputy, the deputy Commonwealth's attorney in charge of that, was there when he was there. We have a team of 7 other prosecutors under her. They are excellent prosecutors. They look at each and every case. They seek justice in each and every case, regardless of whatever category you want to put that into. That is how the cases are handled.
And so, Mr. Mick.
Those categories are great to look at, but what you have to do is, and this is for me, for juvenile court, I think you need to have your most experienced prosecutors there. And here's why. What people don't understand is a lot of times when kids come to the criminal justice system and juvenile court, sometimes it's the first time they have ever gotten a mental health diagnosis. Sometimes it's the first time it's ever been made light that they have a drug problem. Sometimes it's the first time that we ever find out that they've actually had trauma in their life. That's just a reality. You know, kids can't help where they live. They can't help who their parents are. They can't help where they're from. And when they get involved in the juvenile justice system, you need to have people that are knowledgeable about those facts. You need to be able to look at them and say, all right, what is going to be best for them? Is it going to be restorative justice? Is it going to be probation? Is it going to be diversion? Is it going to be commitment? Is it going to be a full offender? Is it going to be any number of these things? Are you going to certify them? But you have to have been able to do that. I was a public defender in JDR, or Juvenile Domestic Relations Authority. I was on the juvenile team. I know those things. And one thing we also have to do is when juveniles come to our juvenile center, we have to look at it like that because they are going to be adults one day. And if we slap them on the wrist, they're going to reoffend. You know, there's a case, I'd love to know what happened to it, but there was a woman who, a young girl, you read in the paper in 2024, where she brought a loaded firearm on the bus. The school board said they were going to prosecute it to the fullest extent. And they didn't. They didn't witness the subpoenas out. And then they had to plead that down to basically a fine under advisement. And that person was later rearrested. That's a failure on us. That's the first thing I said when I was on the board of the Department of Juvenile Justice. Is I said, look, some of these kids that come here, yes, they've done bad things, but our job now is to rehabilitate them. You will not find the word punishment anywhere in 16.2. Do we hold them accountable? Absolutely. But when we do so, we need to do so in a way that they are better off at the end of it so that they don't reoffend. That's why it's so concerning to me that we have a rise in juvenile crime of over 50% because those kids will be adults. And as I pointed out over and over, his plea agreements don't hold them accountable. They're going to be adults committing crime, and then crime will go up. So thank you.
Anything with that you would like to join to? All right, we're going into our last prepared question of the evening. And I will begin with Mr. Mick for this one. Reforming the cash bail system calls on an equitable and public safety-based approach to determining pre-trial release. What's your view on the system from that as a potential leader of the city's prosecutorial arm?
Now, I know the Democratic Party has made a big push to get rid of cash bail. Actually, Rami Fadahi and Novik, I was a public defender when he was a prosecutor there. We've had long discussions about it, and we are certainly on opposite sides here. But I will never be in favor of getting rid of cash bail. I don't think cash bail is the problem. I think the problem is lazy prosecutors or prosecutors who don't understand the system enough. The way we have it now, you get a PR bond, you can get a cash bond, or you can get no bond. I'm never in favor of taking away tools from our toolkit. If you get rid of cash bail, then what happens is you only have no bail or you have bail. And then judges are like, well, I guess I wanted to give them bail, and they give people bail that shouldn't have. That's why you see in places that got rid of cash bail, all these people that are out on bail commit crimes. But what you need to do is you need to actually look at the code section, and you need to say, what is this person's situation? If Elon Musk needs a bail, his bail, you can't say, all right, all burglaries are $10,000. Because if Elon Musk commits a burglary, $10,000 is nothing to him. But as he wants to say, I'm unemployed. If I have that, that's a lot of money for me. And if somebody has no money, $10,000 bail is effectively no bail. So what you have to do is you have to be able to understand the system and be knowledgeable about what factors you have to look at so that you apply bail appropriately. Not only if they need PR bond, but if they need cash bail, what's the actual number that they need, and then no bail in those cases. So I am never and will never be in favor of getting rid of cash bail.
Thank you, sir. And now on to Commonwealth's Attorney Matt Hamel.
I don't really know exactly what he said other than the last sentence where he said he was against cash bail. This is a very complicated issue. There is only one state in America right now that has gotten rid of cash bail, and that's Illinois. There are about 4 other states that have modified cash bail reform. That's New Jersey, New Mexico, Alaska, and Washington, D.C. if we count that as a state. I understand that there is a complicated argument about cash bail where it disenfranchises certain people who cannot come up with money, and then they need to actually plead to get out of jail where they're going to sit there for an indeterminate amount of time. To not recognize that there are some societal stressors upon the cash bail system is just a myopic and an ignorant recitation of what the cash bail process is. What I believe is that we should have cash bail reform. I think we should have certain crimes, certain classes of crime, where maybe cash bail isn't appropriate anymore. Do I think we should get rid of cash bail altogether? No. I think we do need a way to keep people who are either flight risks, people who are going to be security risks. We've got to keep people accountable. And so I'm not in favor of getting rid of cash bail or this Ramin Fadahi progressive stuff he's saying either. But I think the issue is incredibly complex. I think it is something that is so complex that only one state's done away with it. I think our General Assembly needs to address it. And I think at that point, we as prosecutors can then enforce the law in a fair way for whatever the cash bail system the General Assembly determines it to be.
Anything to about there, Mr. Mick, or are you good on that part? All right, now let's roll into closing statements. And remember, closing statements will be 3 minutes. I would like to begin with you, Mr. David. Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm just in format. Mr. Matt Hamel goes first. All right. Let's just go.
Let's just go. All right. Here we go. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming out here tonight. I really have to say I am so honored that you came out, that you take interest in local political races. The stakes have never been higher for Commonwealth attorneys around the Commonwealth, quite frankly. The things that have been happening lately, the firing of U.S. attorneys in Norfolk, whether it's Kristen Bird or Beth Usey, people that our officers work together with, were speaker over in the Western District part of the state for not wanting to indict people, political adversaries, and then getting fired because of it. That should be troubling to anybody. I don't care what your political party is. Commonwealth Attorney's Office in the city of Chesapeake is one that is apolitical. I don't ask anybody in that office what their political party is. I haven't asked one person to be a part of this campaign. The only person that I hope will be my chief deputy, who's here, could retire, who served in the Navy with me 20 years ago, was my mentor then and he's my mentor now. But not one person from my office is part of this because this office is too important. It is too important to be politicized. We are in some troubling times right now. You see it. There's chaos everywhere. There is chaos with the federal government. There are people that are laid off. These are troubling times, and you need to have somebody who has been tested, somebody who has served, somebody who has led people, somebody who has created budgets, somebody who has led people in a war zone, somebody who has led people here at home, somebody who has led large organizations of people. I have done that. I have voted on budgets as a city council member. I have created budgets as a Commonwealth attorney. There is no on-the-job training. And by the way, 4 years ago when I ran, he had declared that he was going to run and he got out. He had no issues with my experience 4 years ago. But now, miraculously, after doing the job for 4 years with great results, now all of a sudden my experience is not right. David Mick has been unemployed, working the polls, yelling at voters. He has been yelling at poll workers. And as a matter of fact, people on his own side have apologized to me, people in this room that have been working for me, the way that he has accosted people at the polls. If that's the kind of temperament he is going to show when running a stressful campaign, how do you think he's going to deal with victims? How do you think he's going to deal with the press? How do you think he's going to deal with the stressful situations? I have worked many, many different campaigns. I had never mixed it up with one voter or one other poll worker. My track record, which anybody can look at, my 20-plus year military career, my 4 years on city council, my 4 years in this office, the 10 years I ran a law firm, hiring people, managing people, it is a pristine record. There's no on-the-job training. And here's the bottom line. I love this city. I love people. And I want to continue to serve. And I hope that I have earned through the things that I have done, both on city council and in this job, and forget the bogus stats and the Mick math, the things that I have done, I hope to have earned your confidence, your trust, and I hope to earn the job for another 4 years. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you everybody for coming out. Matt, thank you for agreeing to do this. Thank you for hosting. Thank you for the sponsorship. So here's the reality. To lead an office or to lead anything, you have to have done it. My opponent hasn't done it. And time again, I've shown actual facts from real agencies. I haven't used just words. You know, did Nancy Barr ask me to run last time? Of course. But I'm not here looking to be a politician. I wanted to be a prosecutor. I wanted to be a lawyer. I don't have to be an elected official. But what I do demand is that our elected officials do the job. And after seeing this 4 years, he has simply not done it. He hasn't. He makes all kinds of accusations with no evidence. That's a problem. That's why you can't try cases, because you could never do that in court. I have brought statistics from multiple agencies. They are true whether or not he likes them or not. They are true. It's not statements. It's not talking points. And you know, I do agree. We are in some trying times. Let's talk about firings. Let's talk about why over 80% of the office left. The first decision my opponent ever made as Commonwealth attorney after he won that election was he fired a 15-year career prosecutor because defense attorneys didn't like her, because she was aggressive and she was a tough prosecutor. That's unconscionable to me. That's who is leading your office. And then you see these plea agreements that come out over and over and over. And you see robberies increasing in the city of Chesapeake, but they're going down in Norfolk and Portsmouth. That's a leadership problem. He's a nice guy. I'm not saying that he's not. But if you need brain surgery, you don't go to the nice enough neighbor, you go to the brain surgeon. That's what this race is about somebody that wants to do the job, about somebody that's passionate to do the job, not somebody who wants to be at the top because political people in either party that are powerful told them to. I used to tell prosecutors this all the time. I'm like, if you forget and you start going through the motions and you forget that every single case you have is probably the most important thing in that defendant's life and that victim's life and that family's life. If you forget that, you got to go. You got to go do something else. You got to do divorce work because this job is too important. And I know that because I've done it. It's too important to have somebody at the top setting policies that won't tell you what he believes in. It's too important to have somebody at the top that won't tell you if he's a Republican or a Democrat. It's too important to have somebody at the top that hasn't actually done the work in over 20 years. And when he did the work 20 years ago, it wasn't the same. It was in a different judicial environment. It's too important to let somebody come up here and just make things up. I've given you the stats. I've given you the numbers. It's too important to this city. And I am telling you, I will give everything that I can to this city. And if doing the right thing gets me unelected, I'll do it. I won't care about the numbers or the stats. I will care about justice. And if you want a Commonwealth attorney that will fight for you, that will stand up for law enforcement, that actually knows how to do the job and will be in court, I am your candidate, and I'm asking you to vote for me tomorrow, the next day, or on November 4th.
On every platform, both show. You have a question?
Another question. Thank you, Conrad, for an excellent debate, for a fair and equitable treatment of issues, for keeping everybody on track and providing this opportunity for all of our citizens to hear from them.
I also want to thank you for the eight signature votes from you guys. All of these are coming up as we issue. Likely to, I think, 35. It's saying that.